Tell me, what kind of reforms will you bring to reduce the imports on edible oil, both legislative and policy, and also increase the production of cashew nuts and coconut so that we can cut down on the budget on oil crops? Secondly, Honorable Speaker, ADC is Agricultural Development Corporation, which is supposed to help the agriculture department. And one of the things that ADC did was to have enough land set aside. I had the question on now we are moving to settlement, and but ADC has swaths of land. But what has happened for many years, there has not been any protection on these. They've been divided, they've been given out. I know even the ADC in Malindi, they have a huge farm in Malindi, but now they're actually renting their own farm because people grabbed it. Now the land they own, they are actually paying rent on. In terms of policy and legislation, what are you going to do to protect ADC and actually spur the productivity of ADC to ensure that as a country we still anchor ourselves in agriculture, and from agriculture to manufacturing and to jobs? I thank you.
Robert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The nominee has come out as very brave because there's one answer he gave. I was very impressed when you said that you're willing to even advise in correcting the mess in state departments in the ministry. When you said that you feel that irrigation is misplaced and you will fight for it, that means you're a brave man. Now, I want to just point out two things. One which was raised by Honorable Naisula on the issue of Botswana, which actually exports 95% of its beef products to countries like Norway and the United Arab Emirates. And what she said is what I want to confirm, that actually they have a Botswana Meat Commission, which was borrowed heavily and fashioned after Kenya Meat Commission. But years later, while theirs is thriving, Kenya's KMC is actually now in the hands of the military. So I don't know, what would you do? Because as a brave person, you must be able to make very serious and tough decisions to bring back that livestock sector to what it should be. Now, secondly, the other issue is the issue of corruption in the ministry. From NCPB and those state departments within the ministry, there's a lot of there's rampant corruption. In fact, I will tell you that at one time, just recently, Kenyans were treated to a circus of the sale of funny product in the name of fertilizer, and the parliament was actually seized of the matter and tried to handle it. Now, there's a gentleman who was my neighbor. This is a real story. And he had a piece of land, 5 acres. He was actually selling it. We were trying to get a buyer for him. Then he got appointed to the Kenya Sugar Board. Within a few months, he now started buying off all the neighbors and stopped selling his land. There is a lot of money that gets lost in our state departments, especially the agricultural one. Now, I've seen that you are worth 214 million. You are going into this sector. All those cartels are there, and they are willing to make you a billionaire with the next 3 years. Are you going to be able to resist, Bwana Nominee? Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Dr. Karanja.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Will they make you a billionaire, or you are a billionaire already?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Owen Bayer, for your question about this issue about edible oils. Yes, this is a classical case of we need to do import substitution. We cannot continue spending our good money importing things we can do in this country. As I indicated earlier, the edible oils is one of the key priorities in BETA, and if approved, I have no other alternative but to work day and night to make sure that we reduce the import bill, especially on edible oils, be it on sunflower, coconut, and cashew nuts. I know especially in the coastal zone, these are very good crops, which has been there, naturally growing there. what may be needed is to review the value chains. Their value chains, make sure that farmers are getting the necessary technologies and inputs, and also the machinery and technology to get the oil and others. Because edible oils also has another offshoot. Because, for instance, if you do sunflower, you do canola, when you squeeze the oil, what remains is what is used in animal feeds. And this is what we are importing. So it has a double, it will help us in those areas that we get the oil and also we support, especially our animal feeds industry. So it is quite a good industry where we need to work on. And if approved, I work day and night, I can assure you, to make sure that we reduce this import bill. It has been there. I know even in Western Kenya there is also the issue about palm oil, which is coming up, where we can get the varieties to plant there. So it's something which is an open potential.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Maybe just
majority.
a quick supplementary, because I hear what the nominee is saying, especially in terms of edible oils and the value chain around the production and growth and production of edible oils. And I'm just wondering, because the nominee lives in this country, and he knows what has happened to the finance bill of this year. Part of the proposals that were in the finance bill sought to do exactly what you are saying, to protect the local industry in terms of local farmers who are growing sunflower, canola, and the other inputs for edible oils. And we sought to increase excise and import duty on imported edible oils so that we protect these local farmers and grow our own local industry for the production of edible oils, to do exactly what you are saying. Now, my question is, considering that Kenyans have told us they do not want us to increase import duty or excise duty on imported products, what other measures would you take to, or what non-tariff interventions would you have to ensure that we protect these local farmers, grow our own local industries, and at the same time do what Kenyans are asking us, not to increase access on the imported products? Or when you speak about import substitution, my understanding of import substitution, and I'm certain being a development economist, you know import substitution will mean that we produce locally. Are there innovative ways that you'd work on, or would you now try to convince Kenyans that import substitution will entail levying some taxes on imported finished products to protect our local industries and create jobs for our young people in this country? As you said, our young people are interested in jobs around the value addition in agriculture, not necessarily in production of agricultural products. But there are also many young Kenyans who are in agricultural production, and a few who have interest in value addition. But what would you tell Kenyans in terms of import substitution and tax on imports?
Thank you for the intervention, Majority Leader. I think this is sometimes, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that there comes a time a nation has to choose what you have to do. I agree, there's a sentiment that we don't have to tax more, but when you are putting barriers in order for you to create an enabling environment for our farmers to be able to do this, and also create jobs. Because if we edible oils, as I have said, you get apart from production, you get to have technology to mill these edible oils, get the oil, purify the oil. That creates a lot of jobs. It creates a lot of jobs in livestock sector and other areas. So I would go both ways. Try to, if I'm approved, try to get interventions which you help the farmers do whatever they are supposed to do. For instance, subsidizing some of the inputs so that they are able to grow more and develop the necessary technologies and adopt the necessary technologies. But I would also like to convince Kenyans that this is something which we need to do. Get those taxes, create some barriers, so that our industry, especially for oil, these imports, substitution, we get it right, because we should not be every import is a job exported. So we need also to have, we cannot have our cake and eat it at the same time.
Speaker, before the nominee moves to my next question on ADC, yes. Don't you think that the problem why everybody wants to import edible oil is because there are cartels that make a lot of money? That, you know, if you create an enabling environment to generate edible oil locally, you're actually killing other people's businesses. Companies, you know, we used to have a lot, the Shah companies that used to do a lot of manufacturing of edible oil in the country. We have a company in Mombasa. You know, they're closing down because there are cartels in this country that are hell-bent to ensure that they continue to import edible oil because it's big money. Okay, so how are you going to, I know you've come out very strong. I would like your commitment on how you're also going to fight cartels in the edible oil sector.
Yes, Junet, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, we need to contextualize this issue of palm oil properly. I wanted to ask the nominee that as we speak now, close to 90% of Kenyans use products of palm oil, imported palm oil, as cooking oil. 90% as we speak now. Now, we can only get rid of it when we develop the other products, the sunflower and what is the other thing? Canola and other things. But now, until that is grown and developed, you can't stop, because if you levy taxes on the palm oil now because of, you're saying, quote-unquote cartels, then cooking oil will become very expensive because the sunflower and the canola are not ready now to take over. So you can only develop that other side. When it is ready is when now you switch from the palm oil to that. But if you say they are cartels, those are stories in the street.
Order. Answer the questions. This is not a debate between members.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, honorable members, Junet and Owen, for your interventions. I think there is
a question pending on ADC.
Yes.
And dismantling cartels.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think this shows you the robustness of this debate, that we need to deal with the two sides. I agree 100% with what Honorable Junet is saying, that we need, in terms of timing, we need to, when we are phasing out the imports, we are coming in with strongly on the locally. So that is a matter of timing. That is a matter of timing, but we need to yeah. Thank you. So I think that's one issue which I would definitely, if I'm approved, I would look at it and see the switching, the timing. If I go back to Honorable Bayer, there was issue about ADC. ADC used to be a very prime parastatal government agency, where we used to get even the planting materials. We used to get, for instance, even livestock, Mutara Ranch, the rest. But it has gone down. I don't know, I will have to, when I get, if I get approval, I have to make sure that I visit them, I know what is ailing them. And the issue is, what role should they play in this dispensation which we are in? For instance, we know that we need a lot of planting materials, we need a lot of, like we are talking about livestock breeds, the Sahiwas, the Borans. What role can they play in that, aligning themselves to that priority in the sector? So that is, when I come in, if I'm approved, is some of the areas which I would like to pursue quickly, because I am sure they have the capacity. They need only to go through what they need to do. Honorable Bayer, thank you for your question. And one of them is, oh, yeah, most of them I'm answered. Yes. whether I can resist, whether they will be able to make me a billionaire. I come, Mr. Speaker and honorable members, I come from a point of one of my clear areas which I am saying is non-negotiable is that is issues to do with accountability and being able to stand for what is public good. And I think that, to me, will be uncompromised. I'll pray to God that I will not vacate that principle. Yeah, because I need divine intervention. I know it's not easy.
You should start with your will to resist before God helps you. Yes.
I'm wondering, because he's saying he's going to pray. Are you going to pray so that you are not a billionaire? Because the question was, are you going to resist those cartels?
You will pray to God to give him courage to resist.
Yeah, Mr.
Yes,
Speaker.
Mule.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Dr. Karanja, I have no doubt in my mind you know exactly what entails in the entire agriculture and livestock sector. And as members of parliament, we are here to hear you and your suitability. And I know we are live to the entire public, and quite a number of Kenyans are watching. And I want to get a feedback after this from the mama mboga, the tea farmer, the coffee farmer, the sugar farmer, whereby you tell them on their face on the actual policies you are going to do. And I'll give you two scenarios. The first scenario is that we have a crisis at the tea sector, whereby 32 billion shillings worth of tea is unsold at the Mombasa auction, whereby it will enter and hamper the payouts to the farmers at the tea sector. As we speak, the mama mboga at the market right now, who expect to get tomatoes from the local farmers and come and resell to make little money, the entire market as we speak today, Korokosho, Kibera, Kamukunji, any market, it's flooded with tomatoes. It's flooded with skumawiki. It's flooded with onions. It's flooded with cabbage from within the country and our neighbors. How will you handle the imports from our local neighbors to safeguard our local farmers who have gone a serious challenge to produce, and a mama mboga who is waiting for the same produce at Korogosho market, yet a truck has come from a neighboring country, I don't want to name any, and has already delivered the same produce, reducing the price of tomatoes from 3,000, as we speak this morning. This is a reality. 3,500 per crate to 700 shillings. The farmer is losing because he can't get his input on the produce, and the mama mboga cannot get an extra coin as expected. The coffee industry, the farmers at this right time, most of them are picking up coffee, taking them to the factories. They are not very sure. They have spent substantial amount of money to produce that coffee. They are not very sure of the market of their coffee if they are selling it. As a cabinet secretary for nominee for agriculture, if, and I use the word if carefully, approved, what will you tell that Kenyan? Don't tell us. We have seen your CV. Mama Boga has not seen your CV. We know your expertise from the document. Tell the real Kenyan down at the grassroots, what will you do as a minister for agriculture to protect them and add chain value for their produce and give them a hope? Thank you.
Russell, just filter the, that was a long speech with one question. So, yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Dr. Karanja, if you will be approved, you will run the largest ministry in government. That contributes almost 25–26% to the Kenyan GDP. That is how important that ministry is. Agriculture has a lot of distortion around the world. In America, they say 20% of the population feeds the other 80%. While in Kenya, they say that 20% is the land that is actually productive, while 80% is not useless, but a land that is there. Looking at your CV, you have either been a lead consultant or a lead economist in the programs called DRIVE, KSAP, Ending Drought Emergencies and Resilient Program, Carlo, ILRI, Global Environmental Facility, among many others, all dealing in two areas, livestock and the ASAL. These programs are supported by either World Bank or the European Union. But on the reverse, when you look at have those regions really benefited, tell us one program that is successful to say that, yes, it has succeeded. Honorable colleagues have talked about irrigation. Year in, year out, for now, two governments, we are talking about Galana Kulalu. And yet, Mwea irrigation, Moroni, all those were done almost before independence or just around independence. My question to you, one, is Kenya really throwing away good money by engaging with World Bank and European Union, where when they give us 10 shillings, we are told you only give 3 shillings, because that is a matching fund, that we're actually throwing away good money, yet it can do other things. Secondly, the issue of livestock. For those of us who come from the pastoralist communities, it is our main economy. But the problem in agriculture, even you, as you try to explain, you kept on talking about dairy. But the cattle that we keep, or the camels, they're actually not dairy, it's beef. And for beef production, if you don't talk about breeding, traceability, disease control, then there is no market. Those from outside will never buy from you. That is why they will tell you that if a heifer is not 350 kilograms, then they cannot buy. So for that reason, my second question is, if you are confirmed, just tell us what is it that you can do in livestock? Because livestock, in 25% of agriculture, livestock actually contributes almost 9%. And that is not a mean figure. Finally, when you were nominated, there were people who said, that one is ours. We live in Kenya where there are 42 different communities, many nationalities, but one nation. Are you going to serve all Kenyans, irrespective of where they come from? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Dr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and thank you, honorable members. Honorable Mure, the issue about the crisis in the sector, If I'm approved, I want to guarantee you that and the mama boga, the tea farmer, for instance, the issue about this piling up of tea in Mombasa, I will be the next brain to Mombasa to see what is happening and to do, if I have the powers within the law, I will do it the next day. Because there is no need of having tea piling up when farmers are expecting the tea to be sold. So I can guarantee that if I'm approved, some of these crises needs only to be handled. You go there and handle them as they, because it doesn't make any economic sense for you to have tea, which is piling up 32 billion. Farmers are expecting money. So that will be handled. Tomatoes, flooding from the East African community. This is an East African community issue. There might be issues to do with tariffs and what we need to do. We intergovernmental, interministerial with our colleagues in the East African community docket to see what we can do, because sometimes you don't want also to escalate with our neighbors. It doesn't. So I'll also look at that, and I can assure you that Mama Boga, that we need to do. Yes, we also need to look at ourselves. Why is tomatoes from our neighboring countries coming at a cheaper cost? Address what I would call the root cause of the problem. Is it our inputs which are high? Is it our methods is it our varieties which are not good? Because I'm not sure our neighboring countries are subsidizing their tomatoes. So there must be something they are doing we are not doing. And we need to look at that and address it so that in a sustainable way, because even if we put the barriers and then we are producing at 3,000 or 2,000 and they are producing at 2,000, always the market will always shift towards them. So we need also to look at that. Coffee industry. I will also look at the coffee farmer and tell them, we will finalize whatever reform. If I am approved, it's one of the areas which I have a comparative advantage, having worked in the coffee industry for long, and I know what is required to be done. The reforms which are remaining should be done so that the coffee farmer enjoys the whatever is supposed to be enjoyed. Then, Honorable Lasso, on the issue about interventions by our development partners and what they have been able to do. Yes, our development partners are important. On the brief which I got is that the sector, the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development has a portfolio of almost 150 billion in terms of these projects. And they are good. They cover a wide area of intervention.
His question was, are foreign-funded programs in the ministry sustainable? And if they are, can you tell him any success story? Is that your question?
Okay. So they are successes, definitely. Our development partners have successes. For instance, as I mentioned earlier, if you go to some of the arid areas, you can see lifestyle changes. Pastoralists who are now conserving pasture. That is a lifestyle change, and it's coming out well. What I can promise you is that this also, I have a comparative advantage in this, is that I will engage the development partners so that we look at how can we align whatever they are doing in the sector with the priorities in the sector, because that is important. I know sometimes there is a mismatch, and there can be mismatch, but I'm sure we can be able to do that. Red meat.
Daktari, the reason why I raised that question is because of where you are coming from. You still remain a consultant with World Bank, the European Union, and whatever global fund that is there, because you are on their list of those experts who are there. Those programs when they are being implemented through NGOs, not communities, not leaders. So as leaders and people's representatives, we are seeing that Kenya is losing money, and that must stop.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the point is well noted, and what I can promise the honourable member is that given my knowledge in that area, I will make sure that community involvement, and you know it's a constitutional requirement these days that we get participation and community involvement so that we maximize the benefits to the communities and where they're coming from, so that we don't just have a project or a program which is Nairobi-based. It should be coming from the grassroots. Livestock, yes.
Speaker, if you allow me to interject, just on the matter of donor-funded programs, Honorable Nominee, you see, some of these donors come into this country and they become like a joke. And I'll explain to you. Haifa International is one of those big guys, and I can see they're back in Kenya. I saw them on TV yesterday. But Haifa International, so they tell you, you take people for training 3 weeks. My mother actually went for training for Haifa, you know, 3 weeks, and they're being trained every day. They leave everything else productively. They go and train. Then at the end of that training, they give them one goat, a goat, one, whose value, no, but they also do goat. It's just called Haifa, but they also goat. So they give them only one goat, and they continue to train them. A goat which is valued around 4,000 shillings, but they spend so much money that would have been more productive, but they end up with only one goat, and they're told you have to wait for it to give birth so that you give it to the neighbor. Then if that one gives birth, then it gives it to the neighbor, and they think that it's creating wealth. We need to stop to be a subsistent country. You only want people to subsist through donor funding instead of growing wealth. I don't know how you're going to bring this concept that we need to grow wealth in agriculture instead of agriculture for subsistence. Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm seeking your direction because a number of us have not gotten a chance to interrogate the nominee, but I can see a lot of interjection from the previous question.
We are almost getting to you.
Yes, but I just wanted the bad manners to stop because we also...
Yes.
Yeah, let it come.
Order, Chair.
Wait, I'm on the point of order, sir. I'm on a point of order. Let it become at the tail end after everybody has had an opportunity.
But a correction, an intervention is not bad manners. Can you withdraw that?
And parliamentary.
Withdraw and apologize.
Yes. Yes, those who have had a go, resist the temptation to intervene so that others can also have an opportunity. Yes, Daktari?
Yes, thank you.
So far, so good.
Yeah, so far, so good. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the point made by honorable members about the donors, that's why I said we need to realign with our priorities. That's the point. If we are talking about value chains, why should we be talking about other things? So I think that is, and if I am approved, is one of the areas which we will engage our development partners so that we align with our priorities, the government priorities and community priorities, so that we move forward. Livestock, beef. Honorable Ruto talked about livestock and lead meat. Yes, this is a very important. If I have created the impression that it is not, that I have not taken care of it, it is not intentional, because red meat is actually one of the priority areas, and we have to deal with the issues which are making us not maximize, as I was saying, for instance, the weight, the breeds, disease control, so that this sector can be able to grow and be able to even actually export the animals and the meat. Serve all Kenyans. I want to say, Mr. Speaker, sir, and honorable members, I'm a Kenyan, and I will serve all Kenyans. I don't have to be beholden by any maybe where I come from. I will serve all Kenyans. Agriculture is widespread. It comes from the coast to the shores of Lake Victoria, western, eastern. Anywhere you go, it's agriculture and livestock development. So I have to serve all Kenyans.
Sharia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to do a follow-up on this issue of the donor-funded and the World Bank. But mine is coming from a different angle, and most of these projects that are done through the World Bank, they normally tend to collapse at the end of the program and often add the debt burden to our country. How are you going to ensure that these World Bank donor-funded programs and projects and address the fundamental development issues in the country to ensure value for citizens who have to repay or carry the debt burden of the nation? Question number 2. Pastoralism, as you said, is a key economic activity in ASAL, areas covering about 80% of Kenya and supporting 1/3 of the population, and holds 70% of the national livestock, faces significant challenges. How do you plan to address, or what measures would you put in place to improve productivity in this sector if approved? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Let's take Honorable Mishimbogo.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, the talk of the day is about fake fertilizer, but you are forgetting that we also had fake sugar, or rather poisonous sugar. I remember during the last regime, there was the scandal on poisonous sugar, whereby a large consignment of sugar found its way into Kenya and in several godowns. Our question is, what is the safety of Kenyans in terms of consuming poisonous food products such as sugar? And Honorable Chairman, I know these people are cartels, and they're the same cartels who are sabotaging revival of sugar industry. So when you are confirmed to this docket, how are you going to deal with the sugar cartel? Because this sugar cartel is big, and these people, they have what we call godfathers. They are protected godfathers. And that is why today the sugar industry is not doing very well the way it's supposed to do. We need to do some intervention on that, and let Kenyans hear what you're going to do. My second question, Honorable Chairman, it is about how do we improve in terms of agriculture. I'm looking at the challenges, and one of the challenges is about land. But today, we have vast land in northern, eastern, or rather, ASAL areas. I'm wondering why, for many years, over 50 years from independence, that up to today, we have not done intervention in terms of having new agricultural technologies. We can maybe borrow from countries like Israel, where a bigger part of it is desert, and yet today is a big exporter of fresh produce. What intervention or what measures do you have in place to ensure, as a way forward, we are going to utilize the vast land in northeastern, or rather ASAL areas, so that we are food sufficient in this country? This narrative of saying each and every time that we need to be food sufficient, and yet there are no intervention done. Today, in the same areas, we can have flood, and there's a lot of water, but do we harvest that water? In Tana River today, we have floods. In Budalangi, we have flood, but again, we'll have drought. So how are we balancing that to ensure that we are food sufficient in this country? I thank you, Honorable Chairman.
Mukami.
Thank you, Chair. Our nominee, my question is regarding new KCC. We have a serious issues in new KCC because the government has been pumping billions of money, and yet the company is not able to sustain itself. If you compare new KCC with Wakulima Dairy in Nyeri or Githunguri Dairy, they are able to pay their farmers within a month. But new KCC, the farmers normally get their payment after 120 days. Like this financial year, the new KCC has made a loss of 1.4 billion. So I want to know, if you happen to get this chance, what are you going to do to make sure that the government is getting value of money? Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Are, can you answer those?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you, Honorable Surrey. Donor funding. I think the big issue here is about sustainability, because when they come, the donor, the World Bank, and other donors come and they do a project, then they leave, then you are left with no sustainability. And one of the reasons why there is no sustainability is because how can you ensure sustainability? If you ask, I'll do that. I would say that one is to have institutions and empowerment of institutions, especially the communities. For instance, you do a water project, an irrigation project. If you don't empower the community to take care of that irrigation project, it will collapse. It will collapse. So we need to inculcate the issue about community participation so that communities are able to participate. Counties are the custodians of communities, especially down there. But most of the time you find a project which comes and the county is not quite engaged. So if I get the nomination, is to ensure that all programs which are coming and being designed, they have sustainability becomes a key plank of them. How do they sustain whatever they are doing? Be it because one of the sustainability is to ensure that whatever you are doing can be economically viable, that you can continue as a. But the others is to the communities, is through counties. Make sure that the counties and the communities have the capacity to take care of what has been invested on. Livestock productivity, I'm sure we have talked about this in terms of making sure that the breeds are there. Disease control is well taken care of. And when I talk about livestock here, I'm talking about both sides, the dairy side and the red meat, especially in the assals. So that, and I talked about even the feed rots, so that you intervene and make sure that we have the right weights for export. Honorable Missy, fake fertilizer, sugar, cartel. When you look at the sugar industry, it has been, we have a deficit of sugar, and that's why the problem starts. We have a big deficit of sugar, ranging, depending on the production, ranging from 300 to 500 metric tons. And this is a lot of sugar, which have to be imported through the COMESA and the other safeguards which are there. So the cartels, we always thrive when our production is not meeting our demand. So one of the measures to actually talk about the sugar industry is what do you need to do in order for you to improve on production. You close the gap so that you are able to manage the quantities which are coming into the country. And definitely there will always be some kind of imports. The issue is about how do you allocate these importation quotas. And the best method is always to be an open method. I know that is maybe challenging in one way or the other, but I'll try as much as possible, if I get approved, to have a competitive method of allocating this, so that the cartels, even if one of the ways of dealing with the cartels is opening the information, transparency. Yes, so that you get that. Vast runs in, yes, it is there, especially in assals. 70%, almost 70% of our land is in assals. Vast land. It is used. Some of it is used in livestock and other engagements. But the major measure here is what are you doing to make the land more productive? And that is why I was talking about working with irrigation, working with introducing the right technologies so that they are able to do. Getting technologies and also getting examples from other countries like Israel. So if I get approved, definitely this is a resource which I would like to look into, the vast land in Assal and how it can be done, especially on red meat. Honorable Mukami, New KCC. New KCC happen to be in cooperatives because these are cooperative, and what I can say, it affects agriculture because the farmers are dairy farmers. But the management of KCC is a cooperative. So what I can say is that I engage and very severely on that with my counterpart in cooperatives to look at ways of making sure those issues, management issues, are sorted out, especially farmer payments, because you cannot have payments which are delayed for 6 months, while others are getting, like Wakulima and Kilongoli and others are paying on time. So this is one of the interministerial collaboration which I have to seek if I get approved.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, virtually all members of parliament represent farmers, and even those who represent urban areas, somehow their constituency interact with farmers in one way or another. And Mr. Speaker, I want to give you, because I come from a constituency that is taught as the bread basket of the Republic, though there's no bread in the basket, but it's the most highly agricultural constituencies and arable land. And I'll give you a story, when a nominee. One of the large-scale farmers, the few are left because of land fragmentation that has taken place, but the few who are left in Kitale, I interacted with a farmer who did maize for a long time. He left, started doing sugarcane. He left, started doing sunflower. He left and went to avocado. Now I asked him, can I start supplying mushroom, because that's where you are going next? He said, no. I want you to help me do gated communities. Gated communities in a rural area. It's basically people are running away from agriculture. And Mr. Speaker, this is a topic that is so dear because it is directly to the lives of the people. There are success stories across the world. Brazil has done very well in value addition. India, Indonesia, this product called Indomie that is all over the country. Indomie is an Indonesian product, and it's from agricultural products. Do you have a success story that you are going to use to revitalize this ministry? Because it cannot just be stories around. Can you say, this has happened here, and this is how I want to interlink with our country? And then lastly, Speaker, and I hate to repeat, but allow me to repeat on this issue of cartels, because where cartels in agriculture has been misunderstood to mean that there are people you walk in the Ministry of Agriculture and they start firing them. No, it is a convoluted system. In fact, you may find the cartels in agriculture, they're not even Kenyans.